in the dark. I know you are with me, yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much? Don't you see that I love you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na na na, my darling, I need your love. Oh na 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 na, oh na na na, my darling, I need your love.
Okay.
When I'm lonely in the dark, I know you are with me, yeah. Don't you see that I need you so much? Don't you see
Okay.
that I love
Me.
you so much? Oh na 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 na, oh na na na, my darling, I need your love. Oh na 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 na, oh na na na, my darling, I need your love.
All right. So I guess I will get this video started. So welcome. Wherever you're at, we're watching this video recording. So today, I have to say I am excited because I got something came in the mail for the holiday season. I don't know if you happen to be into tarot and oracle cards like I am. I was a huge fan of the Seasons of the Witch Samhain Oracle. I believe that's how you pronounce it. It's a really cool oracle deck that I've been a huge fan of for a couple years now. And it is by Lorianne Anderson, Juliet Diaz, and Giada Rose is the illustrator. And they came out with a holiday one this year that just shipped. So it looks absolutely gorgeous. So I can't wait to go through it. So that's pretty cool. Definitely recommend them. They have really beautiful cards. So that is fun. All right. Well, welcome to today's video. So my name is Keisha. I am a certified consulting hypnotist, emotional wellness expert. And we are today continuing the talk that we actually did previously regarding fall and its effect on our emotions and seasonal transitions. So welcome. I hope that you are having a wonderful fall right now, wherever you're at. If it is fall, anywhere where you're at, or you're having wonderful spring if you're watching this from the Southern Hemisphere. But I'm hoping that this finds you healthy, well, and moving towards your goals and your happiness. So, so previously in the original video, we had talked a little bit about, in general, how we happen to have feelings whenever we go through seasons in general. A lot of us are prone to sensitivity and fluctuations in feelings, okay? and how we kind of talked about, that this is natural and that this is the earth's influence upon you. And we even had talked about a little example. I love birds, and so I'm constantly looking at what our birds are up to throughout the year. So obviously there's some changes happening. We talked about last time how the hummingbird, how he just seemed to change what he was doing a little bit, slowing down, sitting a lot. So I really think he was kind of undergoing some transitions in his little body. And now, so he seems to be a little more active. I see him sitting out there less often. He seems to really be kind of flitting around more. So I think he's probably preparing to undergo the change that the season is bringing him, probably migrating down south to wherever he's going. So he's changing. And we, no different, are going to have influence of change as well. Whenever the earth changes around us, we're likely to feel it. Some of us more than others. Some of us are less impacted, but some of us really, really feel the changes. And it's really hard to ignore, and it kind of seeps into our daily life, can seep into the way we interact with people, the way we feel. And so we talk about, yeah, it's natural. I mean, this is something that totally is going to happen. We're a part of this planet. And we also talked about how fall as well, how we think about the season that we're heading into really determines the emotions that we have. So if we tend to think of fall as the death of something that we enjoyed, the ending of something that we enjoyed, we are going to have feelings of loss, of regret, of really not wanting to move forward and not looking forward to the next stage. And so we really should re-examine some of the feelings that we have about that. So if you actually are affected seasonally and you haven't seen the first one, the part 1 video, definitely check that out about how to keep your feelings high vibe during fall. Okay, so now I wanted to continue this discussion because for me and for other people that I've spoken to, fall is kind of tough for another reason. So, and this is definitely something that I can relate to. For me, fall is often a time where we are heading around the corner into the last quarter of the year. So whenever this happens, we tend to start to think, we start to think about that New Year's resolution that was, like 9 months ago or so. And we start to think, gosh, I'm probably not as close to that goal that I set for the end of the year as I wanted to be. And it starts to really kind of mess with our emotions and whatnot. This is something that happens a lot, especially as I see everything start to change and I'm like, I'm just still in the same place. And it starts to kind of bring me down. So I wanted to talk about the feelings that I kind of describe as the fall failure feeling. That's not an official title, but it's pretty much the closest damn thing to how it really makes us feel, right? Whenever we get into fall and we start to feel as though we're a failure because we haven't moved as close to our goals or achieved what we thought we would do by this time, back in January. So a couple things obviously are happening here. So fall is, of course, autumn is a time of transition. A lot of things are happening around us. And I really kind of blame 2 main things for why we could be feeling this. If this is something that you go through whenever you come upon fall. And to me, the 2 things that are kind of lie at the core of it are tension and reflection. So what I mean by that is tension to me is referring to the tension between change and stasis, between flux and remaining the same. So oftentimes when we reach a seasonal transition, we're seeing a lot of changes, not just in the earth with, the weather cooling down, the air cooling down, the leaves starting to fall, plants beginning to die, birds beginning to migrate, but also even in our schedules. For example, if here where I live in the part of the world, kids are going back to school. So now we are going to see patterns such as increasing traffic on the roads, patterns like more, buses out on the road, kids coming out with their little bags and school buses and school boxes and whatnot. And all of this reminds me that time is passing. Okay, that another wheel the gear is turned to go on, and that things around me are changing. And once again, and just like clockwork, it reminds me of last year. This happened last year and the year before that. And whenever that happens, I tend to look at what's happening, and I usually am still doing the same things. So even though life is changing for a lot of people, parents and children especially, changing for animals and plants, often it's not change for me in the way that I want to see. So it creates a lot of tension in between change and between, my life is still the same. And that creates a lot of aggravation and a lot of discomfort that really expresses itself in an emotional dip. another thing that causes this is reflection as well. So again, autumn is a sign of change, of the wheel of the year is moving on, time is passing. And it marks a checkpoint moving towards the end of the year, the end of our calendar year. And whenever that happens, whenever we get close to the end of something or close to finality, our natural response is to look backwards and to look at everything that came before and start to reflect on all the year that has passed up to now. And yes, once again, if all of the things that you thought that you would be able to get around to, you still haven't gotten around to, that reflection can cause aggravation, can cause discomfort, and can cause a dip in emotions, okay? Sense of dissatisfaction and unhappiness. And this is something that we actually can control if we're aware of it, okay? So how can we best deal with tension and reflection in our lives that are causing some emotional dipping? So, number one, I would like to say that a lot of these feelings that we feel right now are often stemming from the New Year's resolution. Okay, so New Year's resolution, of course, is a time where a lot of us made all these grand plans and these goals and these things that we're going to get around to this year. Okay, by the end of this year, we're going to do this. We're going to do all these things. And what I would say is this. So if you naturally feel different now during this time of year, you should actually make this another little mini New Year's resolution. To me, tapping into a natural feeling that causes you to want to reflect, to slow down, and to really look at yourself and everything that you've done, to me, that's easier and probably going to be more successful for you to start new goals, to plan new goals, than the sort of surface level social start over period of New Year's Day. So New Year's Day is interesting to me because it is a complete social construct. There's actually nothing natural at all about New Year's Day. New Year's Day, as it lands right now, is smack dab in the middle of winter if you're in the northern hemisphere, or the middle of summer if you're in the southern hemisphere. It really is. There's no difference in real natural change between the time before that day and the time after that day. Like where I live, it's cold as hell and it's just uncomfortable and no one wants to deal with it. And it's just really interesting that this is supposed to be the time where you're supposed to be so optimistic and full of new ideals and refreshing new things to start. And there's nothing in any natural state that really is going to really support that. You know, it's all very superficial. If you took away the social reminders that it's New Year's Day, you actually would have no idea this is what you're supposed to do. It is to me, it's very random, but nonetheless, that's the way our calendar is constructed, and that's the time that everyone decides that they're going to do the thing over. But to me, if you actually find a time of the year which you naturally find yourself slowing down, you naturally find yourself reflecting on your previous behavior, you naturally find yourself being conscious of looking ahead, looking behind. To me, that is the time where you actually should take some time out, follow that natural inclination to slow down, and actually replan. In a way, too, that could actually help your mood. So instead of seeing it as a point where you're simply disappointed because you didn't do what you wanted to do or achieve what you wanted to achieve, I feel like it actually could be much more optimistic as a time to move into, to look forward as another point where you can actually start over, or a restart period, a refreshing period. Much like the spring equinox, which is the polar side of things. I believe that you might be more successful at creating change, and you also could take advantage of that this time and whatnot. Okay. So number 2, very important as well, is to absolutely, if you haven't already, start now. Make this fall the start. It's really important to keep tabs of self-praise and gratitude throughout the year. So to avoid that feeling of disappointment because you didn't quite meet the goals that you expected to achieve, trust me, I totally am with you. I understand that. It's important to also practice self-love, self-compassion, self-praise, and patience with yourself and gratitude. So what you need to do to the best of your ability is, even though you may not have achieved all the things that you wanted to achieve, you did absolutely achieve things in the past 9 months, since January. You absolutely have been successful, okay, at something, at things. And it can be really hard if you're not keeping track of this already. It can be really hard to think back and think of all the things that you did that you should be proud of. So that's why maybe starting now, it can be a good practice to, if not every day, if not every week, at least every month, to have a time where you reflect on some wins that you had in your life and to record them down for posterity's sake. You can remember them. Things that actually you should be proud of, because they're there. And we often don't give ourselves credit because we're so focused on doing and being something else. We don't give ourselves credit for the good that we do. And so it's really important to do that. So it should come hand in hand with any time that you want to achieve and make plans for the future, but you also should be conscious of what you've done already that is good and that works. And this is really important because you are going to be so much more effective at achieving what you need to achieve when you actually are holding a space of compassion for yourself, holding a space of gratitude and praising yourself. Okay. Like all God's creatures, praise and compassion, even if it's like a little puppy or a kitten, or if it's a human being, praise and compassion for a job well done is going to go a lot further and give you a lot better results than damning you for things that you haven't done right, and punishing you, constant, punitive measures where you're constantly punishing yourself. That is actually not going to be as productive. Okay. Number 3, I want you to get a little creative with your thought right now. Okay. So as you go into fall and you're feeling a little bit, again, like a failure because you haven't achieved what you wanted to achieve, I want to ask you this. Would this feeling alleviate? Would you feel better if you had more time? Would you feel better and have less pressure if you had 6 more months in the year? Would you feel better if it was like June instead of September? Okay. And if that is yes, which it very well may be, what I want you to remember is that the boundaries of what we consider a year are very changeable. Okay. The year as it is currently constructed has not always been constructed as such. You can even look at the names of the months. Like September actually means 7. All right. And what month is it really? It's the 9th month. Same with October, which means 8. November means 9. December means 10. So this actually gives us a hint that the year at one point was structured a little bit differently. It has changed throughout time, depending on who's in power, who conquers who has any sort of thing that they want to really dominate. The year has changed throughout history. And it even changes now depending on who you ask. Like you can, of course, go by the year that we have in our Western society, our calendar year as it currently is. You can ask different people throughout history, that would give you a different answer. You can ask different people, different traditions. There's, of course, a wheel of the year according to any people, group of people all over the world. It varies. It varies according to length. It varies according to how the year is divided. And one thing that is important to remember is that often our stresses are socially created, socially constructed. And if you are stressing because it's going to be the end of the year and you still haven't achieved what you wanted to achieve, maybe just give yourself more time. Again, experiment perhaps with different ways of planning. Experiment with different restart periods. Autumn could be a better restart period perhaps than New Year's Day. My favorite restart period is definitely spring. Why? Because it feels more like a restart. It feels so much more like a rebirth to me because the earth is changing and the earth is throwing off old layers, old skin, old patterns. It's so much easier and more natural for me to make plans on who I now want to be, what I now want to do, when I'm looking out and I'm seeing new growth, new trees, new plants. I'm seeing the birds from last year coming back and beginning to mate with each other. I feel the sun getting closer to the earth and starting to massage my skin more. And to me, this is so much more natural as a restart period, as is the autumn. When the earth actually is also undergoing a change, it's easier for me to tap into that and begin to stay on track for feeling like a new person. In the middle of fucking winter, in January, I don't feel like a new person. I'm grumpy half the time and cold, and again, it was cold before, like a month ago, and it's cold a month later. So nothing's really changed to me. So it's really important to remember, like it's important to experiment with life, and that there's no such thing as a one size fits all. If you want to reapproach your goal setting or reapproach the way you experience cycles, play with what they mean to you, play with different cycle points. Okay, just because everyone does it this way, because we've all been taught to do it this way, doesn't mean you have to do it this way. Work with what's going to work for you. Okay, number 4, and this is important, is to be here now. Remain in the present. There is only the present, okay? So we can only change and live and do anything in the present. The past is our perception of what is happening now, what is still happening in the present. The future is technically imagination of what we imagine could potentially happen and what is still the present. There's only the present moment. And whenever we get into these reflective periods, like we may do right now, we tend to get caught in the past. We think back to the past, we think back to January, and we just can dwell on all the missed opportunities and all the times I said I was going to do X, but I did Y. And then we start to beat ourselves up about it and get kind of stuck into a quagmire. So it's important to remember, technically, and especially if you ask anyone who studies, quantum physics, who studies time itself, who studies the state of the universe, who studies our, perception and how time passes, there is only now. So technically, the now that you're experiencing right now in fall is the same now as in the summer. It's all the same period of time. It's our perception as human beings that divides it into different pieces. But it's all the same. We're on the same timeline as you were before, right now. Okay, it's all one moment. So it's really important to stay in the present and ask yourself, what can I change right now? The past is gone. The past is behind. The past there's nothing you can do about it. So there's no point in wasting energy on it. It's important to remain present. Human beings have a real problem with the past. We tend to obsess on the past ridiculously more than any other creature on the planet. And it causes a lot of issues and a lot of unhappiness and a lot of trauma, of guilt, and a lot of grosser, lower vibration energies that keep us stuck. So it's really important to learn to work on releasing the past and stepping into the present and being here totally. And ask yourself, what can I do right now? Okay, the last 9 months are gone. I only have right now. What can I do right now that can move me towards my goals? Okay? And also know that the past, no matter what happened, happens for a reason, and it is all part of your growth. What you did or didn't do with it is meant to be part of your growth right now to move towards what you want. Same thing goes with the future. Okay, we can't create anything from the future either. The future is technically an imaginative thing. The future can never be reached. You can never reach the future. You can never reach what you see there. There's only now. Only in the present is the only thing you have to work for. So that's really important to do. Okay. So to go over that, so we mentioned as far as the main issues that often bring up these feelings of fall failure for us are tension and reflection. Tension between a changing world and a seemingly static existence. And that often can cause issues. And also the reflection, the reflective mood, okay? Another marker of moving towards the end of the year, and now we start to look back and often get stuck there, stuck in the past. So those are things to be conscious of. And ways to stay high vibe and move forward is, number one, work with the energy of change. So if you do feel different during this time of year, perhaps it's a good time to make your planning and your resolutions fall. So instead of, or in addition to New Year's resolutions, maybe you could do autumn resolutions instead. Okay, so we got the fall equinox coming up, I believe on the 20th, in a couple days as of the time of this recording. So maybe give that a shot. Okay, number two was to practice self-praise, gratitude, self-compassion. You're going to perform better in general in life when you are kind to yourself, when you praise yourself for a job well done. So it's really important. Trust me, I'm bad at this myself often, is to praise yourself. I'm much better at praising other people than I am myself. So praise yourself, and make sure, if you haven't already, start keeping track of your wins. Start keeping track of the things that are going well in your life. Record them so that you have a way to look back on them, to revisit them, and to pat yourself on the back. It's really important to do that, okay? Number three is maybe rethink the way you think of the year, rethink the way you think of resolutions, rethink the way you think of time, because it is truly the mainstream social construct, all right, that kind of puts us in this box. We're kind of pressed up against, running out of time, and I wanted to do all this stuff. Okay, that's one way to look at it. But if that is causing you too much negativity, causing you too much stress, give yourself more time. Make another checkpoint. Make a checkpoint that might feel more natural for you, such as autumn or spring, okay? And be here now. And just know that the past is the past. There's nothing you can do about it. It's done, or your concept of the past is gone, okay? You have only now, right now. So ask yourself, okay, well, if I'm now in fall, and I wanted to do something 9 months ago and I didn't do it, and now I have 4 months left, what can I do right now that is going to move me closer to that goal right now? Not 4 weeks from now, not a week from now even, right now, okay, in this very moment. Because all we have is the present, and sometimes with these plannings, we can get a little bit too caught up in time, future, past. We have to stay present and make sure we're doing things right now to move forward. Okay? And work on releasing the past. Work on releasing your attachment. This is something that I feel like is probably very, very challenging for a lot of people, just because we're really not taught that. We're kind of taught that the past defines you. And we don't go that far as to actually say that, but the way people kind of crystallize into our own limitations is because something happens to us and we take some lesson from it, some grand lesson from it, and we let that shape us, and we let that limit us, and we let that create a boundary around what we think is possible for us. So it's really important that we not give the past so much value and so much importance. Because if you think about it, the longer you go throughout life, the more you learn, the more information you gather, the more stronger you are, especially if you are seeking out knowledge. Okay, you're going to get wiser. So wouldn't it make sense that what you learned back with your old self in the past actually is less likely to be true for you? So it's really important to question what we've learned in the past and ask, is it okay, well, is what I learned from that past lesson hindering me, or is it growing me and expanding me? If it's doing more of the former and it's hindering you, maybe it's time to unlearn it and unhinge yourself from that and release it. All right, that is it. I know this video has gone on for pretty long. So I am going to sign off. That is it for me. So I want to thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you are subscribed to, number one, the newsletter. Please go to www.newworldcoaching.org/sign up and make sure to sign up for the newsletter so that you can be alerted, not just for videos, but also for all kind of other news and fun things such as giveaways, contests, other announcements, events, that sort of a thing. And also subscribe to the YouTube video as well, so to YouTube channel, New World Mind and Spirit, to get announcements as well. And before I go, I want to make another announcement. I'm very, very happy and proud to announce that the audiobook version of Life Change Now, our book, is now available on audible.com and soon on Amazon as well. Eventually it'll show up there. But you can definitely head over to, let me see if I can share this here, to audible.com. And if you go, look it up here, you have Life Change Now. So definitely check it out. If you are an audiobook person, if you like to just hang back and listen and rather than read, is now available. And also, furthermore, if you would like a audiobook download for free, we're looking for reviewers. So definitely reach out to me, send me a direct message if you're on Instagram or Facebook. If you're signed up to the newsletter, there's a link there, or just send me an email, Keisha@newworldtarot.org, and just let me know that you are interested, and I will certainly reach out to you and let you know. But thank you so much for that, and I hope you enjoyed it. And remember, to change your life, you must first change yourself. So thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your fall, and we will see you soon. Be blessed. Stay safe. Take care.